I've often said on the show, there's something magic about introducing someone who's a picture star, as opposed to cafe entertainer.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
No, really. No, I'm sorry, I'll make a comeback. No, isn't there a magic about motion pictures? And I think it's because when a person makes a movie, it's seen everywhere in the world, not just in America. That's why it's...
Did you get out of that one?
Not quite yet. I can tell by your eyes on that. But movie fans all over the world associate my first guest with the road pictures that she made with Bing Crosby and Bob Hope. As a matter of fact, when those pictures were around, the sarong became the thing, you know?
I wasn't old enough, Mike.
Why don't you tell her about that? I'm sure she's sick of hearing about the sarong and what she did for the sarong. But there's nothing so wrong with our mentioning it, is there? I have to make a comeback now. Here's Dorothy Lamour. Nice to have you here again. Did you hear what Wayne said? I wasn't around then.
No, I didn't. I couldn't hear it.
Well, I was talking about the movies and what you did for the sarong, doing all the road pictures.
Oh, what the sarong did for me.
No, or vice versa. And he said I wasn't around when those pictures, which...
Should I hit him now or later?
I really said that for his benefit.
You mustn't see The Late Show or something. I don't know.
I'm working.
Have you ever had anybody come up to you that didn't preface the statement by saying, gee, when I was a kid, I used to love your movies?
Oh, my
Aren't you sick of
heaven.
hearing that, Dorothy?
One time, I'll never forget it, and this is quite a few years ago. We were in Idlewild, New Jersey, and I had the two boys with me, and they were very small then, and the governess and everything, and some lady, I was laying down taking the sun, and some lady came up to me, and she had to be like 65 or older than that, and I was a lot younger than I am now, and she leaned over to me, and she said, Miss Lamour, she said, I would like very much to have your autograph. And I said, thank you. So I gave it to her. She said, I've enjoyed you since I was a little tiny girl. But the thing that really kills me, and may I tell one more story?
Yes, yes.
One time I was doing summer stock in Maine. And you know the way they have those benches outside for people to sit on?
Yes, this theater in the round?
Yes, and there were... No, it wasn't in the round, but it's that type, the straw hat.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, there were two elderly gentlemen sitting there. One was about 75, and one was maybe older than that. And I was back in the dressing room getting dressed and everything, and my husband came in, and he was killing himself laughing. And I said, what are you laughing at? Well, he said, I just passed two elderly gentlemen outside, and one of them said, well, I guess we better go in the theater now to see that Lamour woman. And the other one said, yeah, I wonder what she looks like now. And the other one said, well, I wonder how old she is. And the other one said, well, she's got to be in her late 60s because she's been working with Bob and Bing for so long.
So they put you in the same age
They
group?
put me in the same age group.
Do people think you've retired, Dorothy?
A lot of people do. But I keep active. You were talking about an Owen Marshall, and there's a possibility of me doing one of those, and I just did a Marcus Welby for the same producer, David Victor, and I go out on the road with, you should pardon the expression, Bob Hope. And,
I'll pardon that expression anytime.
Anytime, so will I. As a matter of fact, I was just down in Macon, Georgia with him a few weeks ago, and we hit the road once in a while, and I do the things I want to do now.
That's nice.
Like this show.
That's a nice look.
Like this show.
Thank you. I'm happy about that.
You know, this is the nicest man of any of them I've ever worked with.
Remember the time, speaking of doing this show, I think one of the first times you did this show, I'm pretty sure we were in Cleveland, and they asked you if you would hit me with a pie.
No.
And they had to twist her arm for a couple of hours.
No, let me tell you what happened.
They want you to do it for
It was
promo.
Baltimore.
Baltimore, that's it.
And we were living in Baltimore
That's
then
right.
because I was raising the boys, and I was going to a very social thing that evening. And I had been watching Mike on the air, and I mean, he was so great and everything. And I think I'd met you once briefly before that. So the station called me up and they said, we'd like to do some promos, you know, that's promotional things for a television series. And we would like very much if you would come down and do one with Mike Douglas. I said, I'd love to, but I've got to do it on the way to the social party, a very big, and I was all done up in
You
the
were really
evening
done up.
dress and everything else, you know. And I got there and they said, well, what we'd like you to do is to hit Mike Douglas in the face with a pie. I said, I can't do it. I like him too much. I ended up doing it.
But you know, I've got an 8x10 picture of that at
I'd
home.
love to have it.
I'm going to send you a copy because the
Because
expression on your face, you were, as it was in the air, you were saying, "Oh no, I'd rather not." I've had that feeling many times. Sitting here.
Well, you know, I was just going through a lot of old pictures, barrels and barrels of them, and I run into so many interesting ones, and I was going to ask you if I could have a still picture from one of the shows I've done
Oh,
with you.
yes.
This would be perfect, because I'm coming out with a book sometime, I don't know when, whenever I get time to,
You've got it.
that will
I'll
be
send you
all
a copy.
pictures. Good.
I promise you, I'll send you a
Fine.
copy.
Thank you.
Now, you once made a remark. I think it was to, I'm not sure whose show. It might have been Johnny's. I'm not sure, but you said something. You said something about doing another road picture, and you said, "What would we call it? The Road to Medicare." You said it, Dorothy. I heard you.
I said it right on your show
Here,
to you.
to me. Must have been one of those shows I said. Road to Medicare.
Road to
Did they
Medicare.
hear about it? Did Bob and Bing hear about that?
If they did, they didn't say anything. But,
But you know, you did pictures like Road to Singapore, Hong Kong, Utopia.
yeah.
No, why didn't you ever pick a really romantic place like Road to Rome or Road to Paris? Why always those places like Utopia?
how can you be romantic with those two?
What was it like on this set with them? They were always doing tricks on each other, weren't they?
Well, now that it's over, I can tell you, I should have paid them. It was so much fun, really. And the first road picture, I learned every line and everything, and Bob still tells people this story on me. I was standing in the middle of them, and I knew my line so well, and I was waiting to come in with this one line, and they started to ad-lib so much that finally the camera was rolling, and I said, please, let me say my line. Well, Bob tells his story now. He says, well, what are you talking about? So after that, I never learned one line. I'd read the script to find out what it was about. And then I would just go in and I would ad-lib with him, because, I mean, it was absolutely ridiculous to try to stick to a cue or anything, you know, that they were supposed to throw. So,
You never visited any of those places. You did all those pictures right at the Paramount lot in
That's
Hollywood.
right.
Oh, isn't that?
That's right.
Doesn't that take all the illusion? I mean, we all thought you were in Hong Kong and all those places. Many people saw
no,
those.
no.
You know, nobody ever gets discovered like the thing that happened to you. You were discovered, I think you were running an elevator at Marshall Fields in Chicago.
Well-
Is that a true story about?
Yeah, it's kind of true, because I was running an elevator, but I ran into a friend of mine from New Orleans who had won the title of Miss Universe. Her name was Dorothy Dell, and she at that time was with the Ziegfeld Follies, and she came through Chicago, and she knew that I was working at this department store, so she got in on the elevator one day, and she said, 4th floor, please, and I looked around, and it was Dorothy. She introduced me to another Dorothy, who was a publicity woman, Dorothy Gullman, in Chicago. And so I had been Miss New Orleans. And so Dorothy Gullman got me on a celebrity night one night, and Herbie Kay heard me, and
Band leader.
that's the way it happened. I don't know. I still don't know what happened.
Didn't you sing with Rudy Valley at one time, too?
Rudy used to be a fraternity brother of Herbie Kay. He was an SAE. And Herbie introduced me to Rudy Valley. And Rudy, when I couldn't get a job in New York after I left the orchestra, Rudy used to take me out with his orchestra, like to the Waldorf, to special parties, you know, that he would do and everything. And Rudy's a very close friend of mine till this day. And I'll be ever grateful to him.
He was a perfectionist about what he did.
He
Was
still
he tough
is.
to work for?
He wasn't with me, and I never noticed it with anybody else, but he's just a wonderful man, and he still is a perfectionist.
Yes, he is.
Anything he does.
I don't think many people realize how really big and important
No.
he was. It was like
He
it was like
was
the Sinatra days. when
like the Sinatra
women
days,
just swooned
right,
and screamed
right.
over him.
It was just wonderful.
Listen, a visit with...
You should have lived in those days. I wish you'd been born a few years earlier.
So do I, as a matter of fact, Wayne. I won't have to talk up to you like that. Why don't you do a song for us? Because a visit without a song from Dorothy Lamour would not be complete. Okay?
Well, I hope so, if my voice holds out.
Oh, Dorothy Lamour.
I love the looks of you, the lure of you, the sweet of you, the pure of you, the eyes, the arms, the mouth of you, the east, west, north, and the south of you. I'd love to gain complete control of you and handle even the heart and soul of you. So love at least a small percent of me, do, 'cause I love all of you. I love the looks of you, the lure of you, the sweet of you, the pure of you, the eyes, the arms, the mouth of you, the east, west, north, and the south of you. I'd love to gain complete control of you and handle even the heart and soul of you. So love at least a small percent of me, do, 'cause I love all